And now, live from Level 5 Productions on the island of Milleronia, it's The Larry Miller Show. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and everyone who really knows what Independence Day means. Hi, folks, and welcome back to the Larry Miller Show. I'm Larry Miller, but in a way, aren't we all? And boy, is it beautiful here on Milleronia today. And of course, the Colonel is with me. He had his 3 helicopter flights that get him out here, never mind where. Because I can't tell you and I won't tell you. But we're at it's gorgeous here. You know, we're out here and we know what Independence Day means on Milleronia, by the way. We have 2 Independence Days that we celebrate. One is, of course, July 4th, the American Independence Day. And we, by the way, Milleronia, we are, well, a colony of the United States. We get some pretty special things attached to us, and I'm glad of that, and my family is glad of that, and the Colonel is glad of that. And but boy, oh boy, we know what July 4th means here, and we have another Independence Day that's October 15th, and that is the independence of Milleronia. I should tell you that story sometime, by the way. Not today. There's so much to tell today. But it's a great independent story about how Milleronia came to be Milleronia. And I'll just give you one hint, by the way, that when my wife and I on the mainland were first looking for houses, this is before we had kids, and we were newly married, and we were looking at houses, and one of our requirements was, she always said, you have to have a good terrace on the back of this house so you can make your speeches as if it's, and the start of my speeches was always, I would try it out. I'd have my arms akimbo, hands on the waist, elbows sticking out, and I would say, people of Milleronia. And I thought that was cute, and she thought it was cute, and whoever the real estate agent was thought we were out of our minds, but it's not his problem. It wasn't going to be his house. But the one we got on the mainland does have, well, a terrific terrace, and maybe not the fanciest one. It was used as a diving board, actually. There's no board to it, but you could take off the corner of one of the railings, and the original builders of the house in 1963 used it as a platform to dive into the pool. The only problem being, the pool was still 7 or 8 feet from the platform. So, folks, you got me. I don't know exactly how much fun it's going to be to take sort of a running jump off the platform and just make it into the pool by only a foot or so. And if you don't make it into the pool, well, you know, pools are not lined with wrestling mats. You know, they're lined with concrete. But more on concrete later. In any case, I'll tell you that story sometime. But boy, oh boy, is it gorgeous here. And as always, the music makes me so happy, and Colonel Jeff too. And that's the Leslie Nielsen Orchestra and the Scarlett Johansson Dancers, featuring boy tenor Mike Lucking asking the musical question, if I had medicine that helps me be amorous, wouldn't I want to be in one big bathtub with my wife instead of 2 small ones? No, Mike, you wouldn't. That's the blunt way to answer it, but no, you wouldn't. Now, by the way, yes, technically, of course, one big tub would give you the room you're looking for. And yes, 2 small tubs would just be a frantic waste of time and puzzling for everyone involved, I think. But you would think the same thing. I don't know how they get those tubs in the woods, and I don't know why they need, well, elephant feet on them. But regardless, you kind of wouldn't. I don't know why that whole process took place, but what I do like, by the way, is that there's a joke that came. A lot of comics use this joke. I don't, but it's become sort of a stock joke, which means that everyone can use it if he or she wants to. But that part of the commercial there, where the announcer, the narrator, always says, "Oh, by the way, if your erection lasts more than 4 hours, call your doctor." And then the response that's come about from comics is, "Hey, if I have an erection lasting more than 4 hours, I'm calling everyone." And that's a pretty good joke. And by the way, Colonel Jeff knew one that has a similar structure, that a man goes to confession, and he's sitting there, and the priest sits down in the part next to him, and he goes through the whole thing. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." And he says, "All right, what's your sin?" And he said, "I have had sex with a different woman every night for the last week." And the priest says, "Well, well, let me just ask you, when was your last confession?" And he says, "This is it. This is my first confession." "This is your first confession? Well, that's not you. You're not being a very good Catholic." And he says, "I'm not Catholic. I'm Jewish." And the priest says, "Why are you here?" And the guy says, "Hey, I'm telling everyone." So that's similar in structure, and you can see that hey, I'm only halfway down the block. I'm going to make this a while. And then if I meet another woman tonight and we also spend the night together, guess what? I'm coming back here. In any case, Mike, you always have good ones. And one big bathtub, as you say, if you had a medicine that helps you be amorous, wouldn't you want to be in one big bathtub with your wife instead of two small ones? I don't know how any of that happens in the first place, but yes, you would. So it's a no one to yes, but good one as always. And thanks, Mike, for being one of the best boy tenors we've ever had. And we can move right to Amazon and PayPal. Boy, these folks are terrific. I love Amazon as a company, and PayPal too. And Amazon does three things that no one else does. And I can't believe that Amazon is the only one. Number one, order whatever you want. You'll get whatever you want, period. Number two, they already have it. They don't even have to order it or borrow it or pick it up somewhere. They've got it. They've got it in a mile-long warehouse, and mile wide and mile high, mile deep, which, remember, is a big warehouse. I don't care where you're from. And Amazon does have that, though. And the main thing, the number three thing that is just the best to me, they send us a percentage of whatever you order. They send it right here to the Larry Miller Show in cash. And we use it, of course, we save it for our next big fancy fried chicken dinner with 2 drinks beforehand in a different place. The one we have so far invited Dr. Chris to as well, and that's assuming he's free from his advanced studies in clog dancing at the University of Solvang, which is a real place. I'm not sure what else you can study there. I think it's a full university. Kind of a heck of a name. The Solvang Sols. Well, I wonder what the team is. Do they have teams there? Well, I think the University of Solvang is a terrific place. It's just north of Santa Barbara. And in any case, boy, thank you, Amazon. They send that money, and we're awfully happy. So you want to go to Amazon, you want to get to Amazon, you want to be with Amazon. Yes. You could do it on your computer. You could go there, or your iPhone, or whatever you have. You can do that, but why bother? Come to us. Go to our website, LarryMillerPodcast.com. Who's on the mountain, Tom Mix? That, remember, is me. I love the things Colonel Jeff finds, but that's, of course, the theme song of our website if you're on Forbidden Planet. But do that, though. Come here. Go to our website, and we have a banner that says Amazon. Click our Amazon banner. We'll take you there. Click our banner, and then, you know what? Take a shower and lay yourself down and have a good nap. We'll get you to Amazon no matter when during the day. The red light goes off on our phones, both his and mine, and we get together at the studio, and we'll get you there. And by PayPal. That's right. PayPal, boy, folks, you know what? And if you work with PayPal, they'll make you feel like you're saving the world, and who knows, maybe you are. And if you enjoy my show and you'd like to send a few bucks to help out, and why wouldn't you? Well, you can do it through PayPal. It's a big help to us and a big help to them. And by the way, same thing. Go to our website, and there's a PayPal banner as well. We'll get you there. So remember our website, LarryMillerPodcast.com. Who's on the mountain? Tom Mix. Oh, excuse me. I should have had the fish. But anyway, that's a good Milleronia joke. You wouldn't believe some of the things we eat here. It's all terrific. But that sound of that big saxophone, I guess it is, that won't be foreign to you. And at any rate, thank you, Amazon, and thank you, PayPal. And come on, folks, join the party and go there. And that brings me to my favorite part of the show, the joke of the week. Well, this is great fun for me. As you know, I love telling a joke and passing it on to you. And if you like it, you pass it on to your family and loved ones and friends. And, well, you know what? That's also good for everyone. This is a good joke, too. And the passengers are all loaded on a big airliner, big plane. They're at the gate there, and they're loading in. And they're all seated, and they're happy. And there's a man and his wife, and they're going on a nice trip they've been saving up for. And they're in the front, too. They're in first class. And so they see everything. They're as happy as can be. And at that moment, they just notice the pilot and the co-pilot come on to the plane through the front door there. But they notice, they can't help not noticing, both the pilot and the co-pilot are wearing black sunglasses, and they have white canes that they're tapping in front of them as they walk. And the man and the woman see this happen, and the pilot and co-pilot turn into the cockpit there. They walk in there, tapping the white canes and holding their other hand up just to make sure they don't hit anything. And they go in and close the door to the cockpit. And the man and the woman look at each other. What in the world? And, well, sure enough, at that second, folks, the plane kind of jerks to a start. They back out of the gate there faster than usual. I mean, pretty fast, sort of like a gangster movie. Somebody putting it in reverse and just kind of flooring it a bit. And now again, people are shaking. What in the world? And the man and the woman are, and the rest of the plane knows it too. Something's weird. They put the brakes on as they're going backwards, and that thing jerks to a stop again. And then there it is. They put it in first, whatever happens with an airplane, and they start going to the takeoff area, but they go fast. They're just going. And people, look at the Lord. And the plane is shaking, and they don't even have to be told to put their trays and tables back in the same original position. And then and now the plane is going. They're on the runway. They didn't even wait for anything. They're running, and they start going, and they're getting faster and faster and faster. And people now, and sure enough, that the man and woman notice that, and so does everyone else on the plane. They're heading toward the end of the runway, toward, a metal fence, a cyclone fence, and then a little bit of a swamp, and right after that just is, the ocean. They're gonna crash through the fence and go into the ocean, and then they get close, and they're faster and faster, and they're really going fast now. And finally, as they get close enough to this people, everyone on the plane starts holding their hands up, and then finally they scream. They can't take it. They're. Everyone on the plane screams, and at that second, the plane takes off. It just pulls back, way back, and takes off. And and wow. At that point, the people look at each other. They're holding onto each other for dear life, and they're very, very scared. And at that point, back up in the cockpit, the pilot turns to the co-pilot and says, one day they're going to scream too late and we're all going to die. The colonel and I thought that was pretty good. So apparently they are blind. What happens for the rest of the flight, God only knows. But they took off okay, and it's something that these two do all the time. That's the way they take off. How do they land? Again, God only knows. But that's a good one. I hope you like that, and I hope you feel like passing that along. And now, for my second favorite part of the show, the Poetry Corner. That's pretty. Nothing like a good string quartet. And this is a lovely poem by the great George Henry Boker. And he was an American poet and a great playwright as well, by the way. And for the most part, a playwright, but then once the Civil War hit, he was born and died through the 19th century. And once the Civil War came, he was so moved by it, he wrote Civil War poems. And here's one of them, and it's lovely. I hope you like it too. It's called Dirge for a Soldier. Close his eyes, his work is done. What to him is friend or foeman? Rise of moon or set of sun, hand of man or kiss of woman? Lay him low, in the clover or the snow. What cares he? He cannot know. Lay him low. As man may, he fought his fight, proved his truth by his endeavor. Let him sleep in solemn night, sleep forever and forever. Lay him low, in the clover or the snow. What cares he? He cannot know. Lay him low. Fold him in his country's stars. Roll the drum and fire the volley. What to him are all our wars? What but death bemocking folly? Lay him low, in the clover or the snow. What cares he? He cannot know. Lay him low. Leave him to God's watching eye. Trust him to the hand that made him. Mortal love weeps idly by. God alone has power to aid him. Lay him low, in the clover or the snow. What cares he? He cannot know. Lay him low. Isn't that lovely? George Henry Boker wrote many terrific things, but boy, oh boy, that's sure one of them. What a title, too. Dirge for a Soldier. God knows there were many soldiers who needed dirges and got them in the Civil War. And that brings me to my third favorite part of the show. Triple M, the magic movie moment. Boom, that great piano note I love so much. Yes, this is a good one, folks. A terrific movie I've seen many times, and I saw it listed for, on Turner Classic Movies, and I said, I said to the Colonel, well, if we haven't done this, please check, but it's a great movie. It's called Ride the High Country from 1962, directed by the great Sam Peckinpah. And he was so great, folks. If you don't adore Sam Peckinpah, start with Ride the High Country. It was his first movie he directed. He did, as the Colonel pointed out, he did many TV shows before that, many westerns, and I think like The Rifleman. And he was terrific though. Sam Peckinpah was great in everything he made, and starring, what a cast: Joel McCrea, Randolph Scott, Mariette Hartley, R.G. Armstrong, Edgar Buchanan, who played Uncle Joe, remember in Petticoat Junction, and so many other movies. John Anderson, Warren Oates, James Drury, all played, A Family of Mountain Men. But boy, oh boy, it's a great movie, folks. And Joel McCrea and Randolph Scott play two gunmen for hire who were getting older, and they decide to, they were always upholding what was good. They were lawmen. But they decide to take one more job to bring gold from one place to another. And it's a great story, and there's so much to tell. And the wonderful Mariette Hartley, good Lord, she was always such a wonderful actress and beautiful. And I worked with her a few times on her show, on the Good Morning CBS show. I think that's probably not the title they stuck with. But I loved her and still do. Mariette Hartley, and so many people their names may not sound familiar right here, but R.G. Armstrong, playing Mariette's father, by the way, in the Knudsen family. But, you'd recognize him in a second. In any case, see that movie, folks. And Peckinpah had such a touch for bringing truth out of people by showing characters behave in a certain way, and how Joel was trying to get Randolph back into the best way he could be. And that they didn't want to, Joel didn't want him to steal anything, to be a bad guy ever. And how they get from point A to point B makes a wonderful movie. And the magic movie moment for me, there are many in this movie, but the one today that I couldn't stop thinking of was, near the end, coming up to the end, there's a big shootout with the other family, and in the mountains there, and Joel is shot, and it's an old wound, and as he puts it in the movie, boy, it went right on top of the other one, and that's how good the shot was, and they win the fight. But Randolph Scott comes over to him. It's his best friend, and says to him, it's such a moving scene. Randolph says, I was going to come around there. I was going to bring the gold back that I took. And Joel McCrea says, it's a beautiful line. He just says, hell, I knew that. I just wanted to move. It's just how they relate to each other as the friends they are, and with what's happening to Joel McCrea now in the movie. And he touches on something that I always thought was very moving and very traditional. He's glad that Mariette and their younger partner that they took on are off on the side, because as he said to Randolph, I wouldn't want them to see this. And it was a tradition that, when something happens, if you're going to die and you know it, you don't need a bunch of other people around you crying or holding your hand. It's actually a time to be alone. And folks, I can't say how much that scene moves me. And I tell you, you must see Ride the High Country, directed by Sam Peckinpah, starring Joel McCrea, Randolph Scott, Mariette Hartley, so many great actors. And Joel McCrea, by the way, was known for saying that, and he was very popular, and he was a great leading man. But they asked him how he got his parts, and in an interview, and he said, "Well, they always offer it to Gary Cooper, and if he says no, they bring it to me." In any case, please see it sometime, and you'll know what it means to care that much about something. Like, frankly, Independence Day, July 4th. We just passed it, yes. But you know, folks, that's a great holiday that we don't really think about that much. Not the way we should. And there's a meaning for it. Independence Day, that's so meaningful and so interesting, and good Lord. We just say the words or don't even say the words, and then don't really think about it. You know, July 4th came to be something that was used so often in America in ways we don't know. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both died on July 4th, 1826, which is the 50th anniversary of our country, of the United States. And that was from, well, July 4th, 1776. And they were by the way, they were different in views about this and that, and they disagreed on this and that, but John Adams and Thomas Jefferson wrote each other letters constantly. They never saw each other again, but for the rest of their lives, they wrote letters back and forth, talking about this or that, and just life in general. And here it is, and they both knew they were both getting older, and they both knew they were approaching their deaths, and they didn't know, though. And John Adams' last words were, in fact, "But Thomas Jefferson still lives." And no, he didn't. He had actually died a couple of hours earlier. But that's quite a thing. They both died on the same day, 50 years, the 50th anniversary of our country, and that was July 4th. Also, by the way, on July 4th, 1863, was the same day we won Gettysburg and the siege at Vicksburg. That was handled by General Grant at that time. This is 1863. Well, folks, it's often been named that day the turning point of the Civil War. That was the day following, three really deep fighting days between the Union and the Confederates. And on July 4th, 1863, General Robert E. Lee turned his men around and they retreated back to the South. That was their idea, their effort to bring the war into the North. Oh, so many things to talk about on that. And Vicksburg, good Lord. Under siege by General Grant, right on the Mississippi, for years, put siege. And it really makes you think, as the old phrase goes, and it should make you think. So many other things that happened on July 4th. And I had, by the way, a great July 4th. I had a great Independence Day, and not because I did anything special. You know, the Colonel game, and we have here on Milleronia, we have, big events. We really do. But also our house on Milleronia, which I don't mind saying is a beauty. It's something else. And we had things that we needed done to the house. Important things. Pipes. And, those pipes were from when the house was first built. And that was a while ago. That was more than 50 years ago. That was, in fact, 54 years ago. It was before I took it over and, walked that other fella up to volcano number 1. And he deserved it, too. Can't remember exactly why at this point, but, yeah, exactly. No sense No sense bogging down with that. But folks, we hired a great plumbing company that has different crews for everything. It's called the Drain Surgeon, and I'm happy to use that name. They're not a sponsor of the show, but boy, they're good. And the supervisor, Robert M., came out here, and boy, he ran everything. And I meant by different crews, they have people who dig, they have people who put on pipes and lay them, and sleeves, and who dig out the old things. Those pipes were gone. They were done, and this was really important that they be changed then, right then. Because those pipes, and they took them out, and they showed me, boy, you couldn't even call them pipes anymore. That was from the original house, and they were cracked and sectioned and just rotted and filled with all the old pipes right through the house were filled with this kind of black, hard, gunky gunk. And so nothing's going through anyway. You can't snake that out. You could put actual snakes in there and they wouldn't get through it. And these guys did a heck of a job, and they dug up, our sewer pipe coming out of the house, and they dug that up, and that one was gone too. That was rotted away, and they dug it up and dug it out and put in new pipes that looked terrific. And then they fill it with dirt again and put new concrete on there. And we did something, we had a chance to do something that every homeowner likes to do. And that's to put the initials of the kids and the names of our dogs right into the wet concrete there, and the date that it was happening. And, well, folks, that may sound knuckleheaded to you, but as the Colonel agreed, I mentioned before that, why not do that? How often do you get new concrete around your house somewhere? Even in one piece, big piece, it doesn't. You might as well put something down, and it might as well be, the things you love. And at the same time, the second they finished, they finished at 5 o'clock the night before, and then right on July 4th, we had the Clear Window people come over, and John Oliva, boy, oh boy, he did the next day on July 4th. He worked that whole day, and that was his idea. That wasn't my saying, hey, look, be here on the 4th. But he came, and he worked, and that's work. That's all outside. He worked from 8:30 to 5, jet washing the house. You'll be amazed how dirty a house can get. Your house, too, everyone's house. Boy, it just collects dirt. And he jet washed it off. Man, it looked like no one had been here for 1,000 years. And he did all that and then washed all the windows in that special industrial way. And he, by the way, is back right now. He did everything yesterday on July 4th, but one of his jet washers wasn't working anymore. So by the end of the day, by around 5 o'clock, there was one little section of the house that he couldn't get to yet. So he came back this morning, just about when Colonel Jeff came over, and we started our prep work for the show. And I'm proud of him, and I guess that's why I mentioned, and I wanted to say to you, that's an Independence Day. That, in many ways, is one of the great byproducts of the founding of our country. There are folks who open up these businesses and they have an idea and they say, I think I can make a living at this, and I think I can make a good living at it. And whether it's, the fellows from Drain Surgeon and Robert M. as the supervisor, and I'm happy to say these names. And John Oliva from Clear Window Solutions. Call them if you need them. They're on the mainland all over the place. But folks, you know what? It meant a lot to me because, well, not that, not that James Monroe and some of those fellas ever had to say, "How much are you charging to fix these pipes?" But you know what? It's worth whatever they charge. When you need it done, and our house was dirty, and our windows were dirty, they're not anymore. And when you need those pipes done, and those pipes were gone and rotted and broken and everything bad that can happen with pipes, not anymore. And our house is independent from all that goo and dirt, and so am I. And I wanted to say, oh, that's an Independence Day too, folks. I hope you have a good one for that. If you went to a parade and went to show your respects to a local cemetery, say a federal cemetery where a lot of soldiers are buried, and that's a great thing to do, folks. It'll make you feel, well, it'll make you feel as great as those folks feel. And there are other ways to be happy. I just got, and my family now has, a new toaster. We're going to take pictures of them, and Colonel Jeff is going to put those onto our website. And our old toaster was a Proctor Silex, and El Cheapo, as my dad would have called it, because I think, I think it was $11.99 when we got it, but that's hard to remember because it was 15 years ago. And that old fella just kept chugging along, and I was very proud of him. And then he finally gave up the ghost, and I went back. I went to Ralph's, this supermarket on the mainland, and they had a toaster section there. It's one of the things you never notice if you don't need one. And they had some Sunbeam Company and Cuisinart, which is a nice one, a fancy one. Several other companies that had their wares out, and Proctor Silex. And I looked at it and I had to smile, and I thought, you know what? Why the heck not? That first one, I said, you know what? We had your cousin for 15 years, and I think I'm going to get you. And I did. I got a Proctor Silex. We'll show you a picture of, and $7.99, by the way. It was originally $9.99, and Ralph's lowered it $2. $7.99. Now that's pretty good, isn't it? And I brought that home, and my wife saw it, and she said, you know what? I've always wanted a 4-slot toaster. She wanted one of the nicer ones, and that's fine. She's welcome to it. She deserves it, whatever she wants. And just looked around quickly to see if she's there and could hear me. But you know what she does? She deserves that. So she went out to the bed and breakfast joint. Bread, Breakfast and Beyond. I think that's the name. Bed, Bath, and Beyond, the Colonel just said. Boy, I was so close to, but it doesn't surprise me that I can barely remember the address of our podcast sometimes. Website, rather. I can't even remember those words. But she got a Cuisinart, and we'll show you a picture of that too. And that thing is plugged in. And I made her breakfast in bed this morning, and Cuisinarted some toast for her. Well, no, actually, it wasn't toast. It was English muffin. And you know what? It's a good unit, and well, I hope that thing lasts 15 years too. But somewhere, either here on Milleronia or back on the mainland, somewhere, I'm going to find a spot for that Proctor Silex. I don't think I'm going to return it to Ralph's. I think I can afford the $7.99 to say, buddy, you're with me and I'm with you. And we'll see. It's not a competition. I'm glad the one my wife likes is up in our kitchen and all plugged in and all ready to go, and it's gone. It's already being used. But I'm going to see how long that Proctor Silex goes. Maybe we'll put it in one of the studios, in fact, just in the snack area. and I can always walk by in the morning and smile and say, "Hiya, buddy, good morning. I'm glad you're here for this show." There's much to know about Independence Day, folks, and those are just some of the homey things that make it all worthwhile. I know that, and you know it. We know that Homer is Homer, and Pluto is a planet. So remember, folks, as always, if you walked out of bed today and had a job to go to and a home to come back to, and someone there who cares about you, folks, the game's over and you've won. And that's still the truest thing I know. Every day, including July 4th. We'll see you here next time